Being ignored, or rather neglected, during childhood. The psychology of an ignored child involves emotional neglect, leading to deep-seated feelings of worthlessness, low self-esteem, and poor self-image, often manifesting as behavioral problems like aggression, withdrawal, or people-pleasing, and long-term issues such as anxiety, depression, difficulty forming attachments, and higher risk of substance abuse or mental health disorders. Children learn they don't matter, leading to a struggle with emotional regulation and trust, impacting relationships and overall well-being into adulthood. Core psychological effects. Low self-worth. This is where the child internalizes the message that they are unloved, unwanted, or flawed, believing they are not good enough. Poor self-image. Here, the child lacks positive reflection from caregivers, hinders the development of a healthy sense of self, resulting to insecurity. Emotional dysregulation. Here, the child experiences difficulty identifying, expressing, and managing emotions, leading to outbursts or extreme shutdown. Behavioral manifestations. Attention seeking. The child starts misbehaving, acting out, or being aggressive to get any form of reason, even negative. Withdrawal. Becoming quiet, indifferent, or emotionally distant to cope with lack of connection. People pleasing. This is where the child starts striving excessively to please others, fearing rejection. Attachment issues. Fear of intimacy, difficulty trusting, or becoming codependent in relationships. Long-term impacts. Mental health. There is increased risk of anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and attachment disorders. Relationship struggles with trust, intimacy, and forming stable, healthy bonds. Risky behaviors. Higher likelihood of substance abuse or engaging in risky sexual behaviors. How it happens. Emotional neglect. A pattern where caregivers repeatedly fail to respond to a child's emotional needs, making them feel invisible or unimportant. Affectional neglect. A lack of warmth, validation, and emotional support, often leading to developmental delays and failure to thrive. Being ignored as a child is a form of emotional abuse that sends a damaging message, profoundly affecting a child's sense of self and the ability to navigate the world and form a healthy connection. Childhood neglect significantly impacts adulthood, often leading to emotional numbness, low self-esteem, trust issues, and difficulty forming healthy relationships, with adults struggling to identify feelings or feeling or of perpetually not good enough. This can manifest as perfectionism, people-pleasing, substance abuse, anxiety, depression, or developing maladaptive coping mechanism like codependency, impacting overall mental health and life satisfaction. Emotional and psychological effects. Emotional dysregulation, for example, mood swings, intense anger, chronic emptiness or numbness, difficulty processing emotions, low self-worth, pervasive feelings of inadequacy or being not good enough, identity issues, struggling to know oneself or what one wants, fear and avoidance, heightened fear of criticism, failure, or intimacy leading to avoidance, mental health disorders, higher risks of depression, anxiety, and attachment disorders, relationship effects, trust issues, difficulty trusting adults and forming secure attachments in adulthood, insecure attachments, unhealthy relationship patterns such as codependency or extreme dependency, people-pleasing, constantly seeking validation to avoid rejection, behavioral and coping effects, maladaptive coping, substance abuse, overeating, or excessive screen time to numb pain, poor self-care, neglecting physical and emotional needs leading to burnout, perfectionism, an attempt to earn approval and avoid perceived failure, risky behaviors, high risk sexual behavior or aggression, cognitive and physical effects, cognitive deficits, potential learning difficulties, poor language or academic struggles, physical health, increased risk for chronic diseases as neglect can impact long-term physical well-being. Core issues stemming from neglect: lack of validation, never having needs met or emotions acknowledged, leading to a deep-seated sense that one's inner world doesn't matter. disrupted attachment, a fundamental inability to trust caregivers, which extends to future relationships. Therefore, neglected children grow up struggling to believe they deserve attention. They may shrink themselves and feel like they are too much in relationships. Their brain can wire itself to expect neglect and anticipate dismissal, assuming their needs are a burden. They learn not to ask for love, affection, or understanding, convincing themselves that wanting these things is somehow wrong. Being ignored feels like a deep fracture in their sense of self. They adapt by shrinking themselves and hiding their needs, believing they don't matter as much as others, which can quietly haunt their adulthood. They may internalize the dangerous belief that they don't deserve love or aren't important. Neuroscience shows that their brain interprets ignored attempts at connection as a threat, activating a stress response that can rewire their nervous system to expect rejection, leading to baseline of anxiety and fragile emotional regulation. They might stop asking questions or showing excitement, eventually disappearing emotionally. Emotional neglect leaves hidden scars that often appear in adulthood as low self-esteem, a fear of rejection, or a tendency to desperately chase approval and people please. They may struggle to celebrate their own successes, dismissing them as unimportant, becoming adults who ignore themselves. Emotional neglect is strongly correlated with chronic feelings of loneliness in adulthood. They often develop coping mechanisms like being fiercely independent, becoming high achievers, or being peacekeepers. But these often mask underlying exhaustion, difficulty trusting others, or perfectionism. Some may stop trying altogether, carrying apathy into adulthood, struggling with motivation, ambition, and hope. Adults who experienced emotional neglect as children are at higher risk of anxiety, depression, and difficulty forming close relationships. Their neural pathways related to resilience are weakened. Their sense of identity can remain blurry, leading them to constantly search for validation. Impacts of neglect on the brain. The brain wires itself to expect neglect and anticipate dismissal over time. Neuroscience studies show that when a child's attempts at connection are repeatedly ignored, their brain interprets it as a threat, activating a stress response and flooding the body with cortisol. This can rewire their nervous system to expect rejection, making their baseline anxiety and their emotional regulation fragile. Consistent acknowledgement in childhood strengthens neural pathways related to resilience while neglect weakens them. However, brain is not fixed and can rewire as an adult, allowing for healing and the building of new patterns. Healing. Healing from childhood emotional neglect helps break negative psychological and behavioral patterns because it allows for the rewiring of the brain and establishment of new, healthier responses. Every time an individual speaks up and is heard, their brain registers safety. Every moment, a healthy connection helps to wear away the stone of old wounds. By giving themselves the acknowledgement they did not receive, individuals can begin to heal, leading to practical steps like celebrating their own wins, verbalizing feelings, and believing their thoughts and feelings matter. This journey not only heals the individuals, but also breaks generational cycles of neglect. An ignored child who learns to listen to themselves can become a parent, friend, or partner who listens better and who teaches others that their needs matter. The ignored child often becomes one of the most empathetic adults because they know the sting of being unseen. Therefore, for proper growth, children need safety, stimulation, and connection. If you like this video, kindly click on the subscribe button for more videos of the same kind. Thanks for watching and thanks for your time.